Is the answer also on there so I can cheat? Why can't I think of this? This is making me crazy. I know this one. Yes, that's it. Oh, I know this one. You need to rush to her side and pull her in your arms and then pour your heart out in a beautiful ballad. It's Enchanted. Sorry. You need to rush to her side and pull her in your arms and then pour your heart out in a beautiful ballad. It was one of those dream come true moments for myself when he's like, I want you to run over the hill, kind of like Julie Andrews in Sound of Music. I was like, oh, dreams do come true. What's the S stand for? That is for Man of Steel. She was pretty cheeky when she said this line. I didn't quite realize I sounded that cheeky until I watched it back. What's the S stand for? I always sort of pretended to play her when I was watching Margot Kidder. I had a lot of brothers and there was a lot of underoos. I don't know if you guys remember underoos. They looked like superheroes and they were like these pajama/underwear sets. So there was a lot of like towel capes and I would be like, well, I'm Lois Lane. Like I was always Lois Lane. So it was something that I'd always wanted to do. And then when Zach approached me, I was like, yes, absolutely. I know this one too. Stop calling me an MTV girl, whatever the fuck that means. That's from The Fighter, because Mickey's sisters call me an MTV girl, whatever the fuck that means. Stop calling me an MTV girl, whatever the fuck that means. I ran out of swear words. There was one point where I was leaning outside of the window swearing at Christian Bale's character, Dickie, and David O. Russell was just like, think of some more. And across the street, they actually had hired a pastor to be the pastor walking the dog. And I just kept being like, sorry, Father, sorry, Father. I mean, just in that scene, I was like 10, 20, 30 maybe. I'm not sure, but a lot. Thank you. Now that's a proper introduction. That is from Arrival. Now that's a proper introduction. That scene, I wasn't looking at anything. I had a piece of glass that I had to put my hand on. But Denis did such a great job sort of drawing the intimacy of the relationships that we were developing with Abbott and Costello and developing a sense of awe and kind of understanding of where they were at any given moment. So we were just all in this like really beautifully meditative space while making it. Oh. I bet she is thin. I bet she's prettier than I am too. Now I'm gonna hate her. Can't wait. That's Junebug. I bet she is thin. I bet she's prettier than I am too. Just went through kind of a hard time figuring out how I would fit life into work development and was putting so much time and energy into, I think, stuff I couldn't control really. And I realized it's not worth losing myself to try to pursue something. So when I booked Junebug, it really felt like I found myself in that role in a way. I was able to dive into something that felt very authentic and very familiar to me, and it kind of helped me find my way back to myself, not only as an artist, but just as a person and into like balance and community. Do you ever feel like your life has turned into something you never intended? I know this, and for some reason, do you ever feel like your life has turned into something you never intended? Why can't I think of this? This is making me crazy. I know this one. Hold on, why can't I think of it? But why did my brain stop working? I absolutely remember saying this line. And for some reason, I'm like, has the movie come out? Yes, that's it. Sorry, Tom. I could see it, I just couldn't say it. Do you ever feel like your life has turned into something you never intended? So I love fashion, but I'm just a lot more casual of a person, I suppose, in my day-to-day life. But with him, I think the thing that I love so much about working with him is he infuses himself into each of the characters in a certain way. Watching him gave me sort of an understanding of how he saw the character because he would almost play it through his direction. And it was really wonderful to participate in because it gave me such a different sensibility and posture and a different perspective on the character, getting to watch him and have the conversations with him about her. So that was what I loved a lot. And he also like reads really beautifully. He would always be like, is that how you read? Because I'd be reading. He's like, that's how you're gonna read. Sorry. And so, yes, he reads with a beautiful long neck, thankfully. Otherwise, I would have looked like this in Nocturnal Animals. Ah, yeah. You're nothing to me until you're everything. That's American Hustle. I say it to Christian Bale. I'm wearing a beautiful white coat and a hat. You're nothing to me until you're everything. I think I have one of the dresses I wore at the disco, but I never really wear anything I wear as a character again. I feel like once I play that character, well, that's not entirely true. I have some shoes that I've borrowed from a couple sets. I'm not stealing anything. I'm not that person, no. This sounds weird. I'm not getting out of this. I'm like, I borrowed them. You know, it was interesting because she was so kind of wounded and in a really vulnerable place and like required, and the way that David works is very immediate and present. So it just is very immersive. So sometimes that can get intense, you know. So luckily I had my daughter at home. So, you know, at the end of the day, there's nothing like your kids to pull you out of work in that way. I think people buy art because it touches them. I think this is Big Ice. Yeah. I think people buy art because it touches them. That's the shoes that I have. It's the sandals she wears, the little tie back. And I still have them, and I have worn them all the way out. I haven't painted in a while. I can paint, not well, but I do love to push around the acrylics every once in a while. Let's be honest, it was like a paint by numbers. What I really liked is she held her brush in a very specific way. And in holding the brush in that way, I discovered I could actually draw and write and paint differently. And I guess I had always been, when do we ever think really about how we are holding a pencil? So when I changed the way I held things, it was a much more fluid line. It's unsettling to look at people with suspicion. I feel less close to God. That's doubt. It is unsettling to look at people with suspicion. I feel less close to God. She's wonderful. She's professional. She's a leader. She's a mentor. She's kind of set a bar for me, not only as an actress, but as all of those things, as a professional, as a mentor. You know, aside from the obvious ability that she has as an actor, she just has this ability with humans to just kind of infuse them with her warmth and her intelligence. It's just wonderful to be around. Oh, what is this one? Put them in the wash, they'll be grand. Okay, just because of the wording, I'm thinking it's leap year. Okay, good. Yeah. Good. Okay, I was like, they'll be grand. That's gotta be Irish, yeah. Put them in the wash, they'll be grand. I worked in Ireland on a couple of things, but most recently on Disenchanted, and I worked closely with a young woman named Eve, and she's like, just don't. Please don't do it. It started because I was saying things like about the crack, and she's like, oh, just don't try to do it, Amy. Yeah. I mean, I love Dublin. I like all the other towns, but at the time in my life, it was just so magical to be there with my now husband. He came over and exploring Dublin. Okay. Oh, I'm signing up because I always watch the pageants on TV and my boyfriend thinks I'll win. That is my very first film, which was Drop Dead Gorgeous. I promise I don't watch my films over and over again. I'm not sure how I'm remembering all of this because I literally watched them like once or twice years later.
You know, I always watch the pageants on TV and my boyfriend thinks I'll win.
I mean, since I've always been into the arts, and I actually wanted to be a doctor, but I couldn't pass chemistry. Spent a little bit of time devastated, and then sort of like leaned into the performance aspect of my life and started as a dancer, and kind of realized that the thing that I leaned into as being a dancer was like expression and the storytelling. And so I think that led naturally to acting. So I was actually working at a dinner theater in Minnesota when I was cast in Drop Dead Gorgeous, but I never thought that I would come out here and be lucky enough to have the career that I've had and work with the people I've worked with. That wasn't on my radar. I had no idea what I was doing, but I had a lot of fun.